The rationalization, so I have 4 points in my statement. The rationalization plan of 1MDB announced in May last year was always like a house built on sand. 1MDB noted in its press statement this morning that 1MDB now retains a cash supply of approximately 2.3 billion ringgit for infrastructure and other debt service requirements. Future debt obligations are fully matched by the sale of Bandar Malaysia land, the developments and sale of TRX lands, as well as the eventual monetization of Pulau Indah and Air Hitam lands. We have always maintained that 1MDB rationalization plan was built on sand, as we were never convinced that the $4.7 billion debt asset swap plan will be successful. This was because it was clear from 1MDB's financial statements and the events which were taking place over the last year showed that 1MDB does not have the equivalent amount of assets to swap with IPIC's assumption of 1MDB's debt. The lack of conviction was made more obvious by 1MDB's refusal to provide the Auditor General with the necessary documents to verify the value or even the existence of 1MDB's overseas cash and assets. Hence, the continued insistence by 1MDB today that further debt obligations are fully matched by the sale of Bandar Malaysia land, etc., especially after the collapse of the 1MDB IPIC agreement, is an irresponsible attempt to continue to play a game of smoke and mirrors which are not backed by financial facts. In addition, we also have doubts on the ability of the Iskandar Waterfront-led consortium's ability to complete the purported 7.4 billion, 42 billion ringgit acquisition of the 60% stake in Bandar Malaysia. Based on Iskandar Waterfront's financial statements for December 2013, it has only net assets of 3.46 billion. How is a company with net assets, this is just net assets of 3.46 billion, able to raise, even with the partnership of a Chinese company, 7.42 billion to buy the land is beyond us. You not only need to buy the land, you need to raise more money to build on that land. So where are they going to find the money to buy this? And that's why this deal until today has yet to be completed. Number two, 1MDB announced today it has failed to repay $50 million of interest, which will cause a cross default in 1MDB's other loans. 1MDB in its latest statement is also attempting to play down the impact of its default on the 1.75 billion bond issue, where it has failed to pay for the $50 million of bond interest which is due. 1MDB has confirmed, so they have confirmed that there will be cross defaults triggered on 1MDB's 5 billion ringgit sukuk due 2039 and 2.4 billion ringgit Bandar Malaysia sukuk due 2021 and 2024. 1MDB said there is no cross default on 800 million ringgit loan from SOCSO, although there is a possibility the material adverse effect clause may be triggered due to the developments highlighted above. 1MDB further added that 1MDB sukuk and SOCSO loans both benefit from guarantees issued by the Malaysian government. Now, what is it trying to say? This is another obvious admission by 1MDB that it will be relying entirely on the Malaysian government to bail out 1MDB on its burgeoning debt crisis. The event of default has been triggered, which means that all bondholders will now have the absolute option to call upon the Malaysian government to pay up for its debts. Default means what? It means that if I lend 1MDB money, 1MDB sekarang sudah default, I have immediately now the option to minta Kementerian Kewangan to pay up everything. 5 billion, bayar sekarang dalam jangka 5 hari. So this is the crisis we are facing now. And yet 1MDB can play it down. Oh, don't worry, these things are guaranteed by the Malaysian government. Okay? The Minister of Finance cannot continue to remain silent on this matter, as this is the single largest default by any government subsidiary ever in the history of Malaysia. Datuk Seri Najib Razak must provide a full and satisfactory explanation on the financial disaster taking place before our eyes and outline the steps which will be taken to remedy the situation. This is especially since 1MDB and Datuk Seri Najib Razak has repeatedly denied any need for government bailouts despite repeated warnings by opposition critics, including myself. Number 3. Malaysian government will ultimately bear the burden of all advances, interests and bonds guaranteed by IPIC. Under the debt asset swap arrangement with IPIC, the agreement clearly states that the Ministry of Finance will indemnify IPIC of all its obligations, including its advances and payments of interest on behalf of 1MDB. We have already raised this matter. Arukanda at that point in time in June insisted, no, there's no guarantee by the Malaysian government. But now it is coming through. 1MDB has failed to repay IPIC, and IPIC is demanding that the Malaysian government honour its obligations under the indemnity clause. What is highlighted, now this is something that was not raised in the media reports earlier. The PAC report is very thick, so many would have missed this out. What is further highlighted in the Public Accounts Committee report, page 62. Saya baca. Page 62. Dalam inter-guarantee agreement, satu inter-guarantor agreement yang ditandatangani antara 1MDB dan IPIC bertarikh 21 hari bulan Mei 2012. 1MDB dikehendaki mendapatkan Ministry of Finance Incorporated untuk melunaskan semua prinsipal dan kos berkaitan yang telah didahulukan oleh IPIC sekiranya 1MDB gagal melaksanakan obligasinya sebagai penjamin. Di samping itu, syarat dalam Inter-Guarantor Agreement tersebut adalah bertentangan dengan surat kelulusan daripada Menteri Kewangan bertarikh 26 hari bulan Mac 2012 dan 3 hari bulan Ogos 2012 yang menyatakan bahawa terbitan kedua-dua nota USD itu diluluskan tanpa jaminan kerajaan. Hence, ultimately, based on this finding, it is clear that 1MDB is continuing to play a poker game even after its cards have been fully revealed to be darts. The refusal to pay $50 million interest may force IPIC to repay the entire 1.75 billion bonds it guaranteed on behalf of 1MDB. Yes, benar. Kalau 1MDB sekarang tak bayar 50 juta faedah yang perlu dibayar, IPIC akan terpaksa sebagai penjamin untuk membayar kesemua 1.75 bilion bond yang dipinjam. Sebab IPIC telah pun menjadi guarantor kepada 1MDB. Tapi dalam perjanjian Inter-Guarantor Agreement ini membolehkan IPIC kemudiannya menuntut daripada Kementerian Kewangan untuk membayar segala pinjaman yang dijamin dan dibayar oleh IPIC. Okay? So, ultimately, IPIC will make the claim on the Malaysian Ministry of Finance based on the Inter-Guarantor Agreement. Agreement which was signed by 1MDB dengan kelulusan daripada Perdana Menteri. Remember, every agreement by 1MDB of this nature has the endorsement under Article 117 by the Prime Minister, tapi tak ada kelulusan daripada Kementerian Kewangan ataupun bertentangan daripada kelulusan yang diberikan oleh Kementerian Kewangan, di mana kerajaan Malaysia tidak memberikan sebarang jaminan. Ini adalah finding, penemuan daripada Ketua Audit Negara. Okay? Will Datuk Seri Najib Razak refuse to honour 1MDB's agreement with IPIC, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of the Abu Dhabi Government? So, dari krisis kewangan, sekarang mungkin ada krisis diplomatik dengan negara Abu Dhabi. Number 4, short point, Arukanda has finally admitted not only possibly fraud, okay, that took place in IPIC, but also collaborators in 1MDB. Okay, I just read the sentence from the report in The Age. What we cannot discount is there could actually be fraud, a massive fraud. We've been talking about it for how many years? Sekarang Arukanda baru sebut sebagai CEO. Oh, there could be massive fraud. And maybe there was collaboration from our side. From 1MDB. Okay, Arukanda told the Age Financial Weekly last weekend. Arukanda has finally admitted to a point we have been alleging for nearly 2 years, that there may have been systematic fraud, deception and misappropriation in 1MDB, resulting in the billions of dollars of losses. His admission now requires him to make a police report or even a MACC report to disclose what he knows and demand the authorities investigate the possible fraud claims. Now that he has admitted there is possibly fraud, and as the CEO of the company, he must be responsible and immediately take action by reporting the possible fraud to the police. Biar pihak polis menyiasat. Okay? He must do so now in order to ensure that he will not be found to be complicit in the covering up of the entire fraud in any subsequent investigations. Kalau dia tak buat sebagai CEO syarikat, tapi dia meragui ataupun mensyaki bahawa ada penyelewengan yang berlaku, ini merupakan satu tindakan yang tidak bertanggungjawab. Kalau mensyaki ada kesalahan ataupun penyelewengan yang berlaku, perlu buat laporan polis. So we demand that Arul now make the police report. Saya boleh buat, tapi lebih baik dia buat sebab dia sekarang pun percaya ada kemungkinan ada penyelewengan yang berlaku. So he must file the police report in order to ensure that proper investigations take place based on the latest developments. Masih panjang sikit, tapi banyak isu yang perlu di cover.